They found her just before dawn. A truck driver heading towards Lagos Island slowed down when his headlights caught the shape of a woman lying by the roadside. At first, he thought it was one of those drunk girls who collapsed after a night out. But as he got closer, the sight made his stomach turn. She was curled up like a child, shivering in the early morning cold. Her hair was tangled, her bare feet caked with dust. Her dress was ripped at the hem, the fabric damp with sweat. Then the smell hit him. It wasn't the smell of alcohol or vomit. This was different. It was sharp, sour, and heavy, like something rotting in the sun. The driver hesitated, but finally stepped out. Sister, can you hear me? Are you okay? He asked, leaning closer. And that's when he saw it. Fat, white maggots wriggling out from between her thighs, dropping in little clumps onto the dirt. The driver stumbled back, nearly throwing up. Her lips moved. He bent down quickly, trying to catch her words. She managed to whisper a man's name. Then her head dropped to the side, her body going limp. He rushed her to the nearest clinic. That night, the hospital didn't smell like healing. It smelled like bleach and fear. Nurses covered their noses and mouths as they worked on her. The maggots were too many. They had to be flushed out with harsh chemicals. The doctor whispered in the corner with a nurse, his voice low but urgent. Later that day, word began to spread through the city. Not the official story. No, that one was kept quiet. But the real story, people whispered it in bars, markets, in the back of Okada stands. She was last seen with him. That big man, the one with the cars. She didn't survive till morning. The name she whispered before dying was Chuka Okafor. In Lagos, that name needed no introduction. Chuka was the face of every Friday night, the man who owned every VIP table worth owning. If you were a club owner, having Chuka at your spot was like winning the lottery. He came with an entourage and bought bottles of the most expensive champagne. He was the king of nightlife. Chuka wasn't just rich, he was wealthy, with houses in Banana Island, a penthouse in Ikoyi, a beach villa in Ilashe, cars worth more than some hotels, and bank accounts in places most Nigerians couldn't even point to on a map. And the women, they were endless. He loved tall, slim models, curvy Instagram influencers, even married women who should have known better. Chuka had a way of making any woman feel like she was the only one in the world. He spoiled them without blinking. He bought them designer bags, clothes, vacation trips to Bali Island, even cars. To some, he gave fully furnished luxury apartments. And yet, strangely, a lot of his women seemed to disappear after some time. Others became mysteriously sick. But Lagos gossip is quick to forget when new gist comes in. No one ever connected the dots. Chuka wasn't born rich. He grew up in Enugu in a cramped one room apartment with his parents and three siblings. His father was a tired civil servant, and his mother sold fruits by the roadside. From a young age, Chuka hated poverty. He hated the shame of wearing torn uniforms to school. He hated being sent home for unpaid school fees. He hated the smell of poverty that seemed to cling to their small home. When he was 21, he left for Lagos with nothing but determination. He hustled as a bus conductor, sold second-hand clothes, and later became a club promoter. He made connections, but money was still slow. Then, one night, during a low point, a bouncer friend introduced him to Baba Nduka, an old herbalist in Makoko. Baba Nduka was no ordinary man. His small wooden shack was filled with jars of strange powders, dried animal parts, and carved figures. He spoke slowly, his eyes always watching too closely. He told Chuka about an ancient river deity called Ajala, who could grant untold wealth if Chuka was willing to pay the price. The price was wombs. Every few months, Chuka would have to feed the deity by destroying the reproductive essence of a woman through a supernatural ritual disguised as intimacy. The women wouldn't die immediately. First came the sharp pain that wouldn't heal, then the smell, then the maggots. Death followed soon after. Chuka hesitated for a minute, but when he thought of the money and power he would gain, his fear dissolved. After his first victim, the money came fast, intoxicating, unstoppable. So he buried his guilt deep. By the third woman, he didn't feel anything at all. The dead girl that morning was named Adugo. She met Chuka at a private birthday party on Banana Island. He singled her out with that lazy smile of his, the one that made women's knees weak. She was flattered, surprised that a man of his status paid her so much attention. Within days, he had bought her designer wares and taken her to dinners in places she had only seen on the internet. He made her feel special, chosen. Then one night, he took her to his beach house. By morning, she could barely stand. By evening, the pain was unbearable, and a foul smell had started leaking from her body. Chuka carried her outside, put her in the trunk of his Bentley, and drove out towards the highway. When he got to a quiet spot, he carefully laid her down on the cold gravel and got back to his car. He didn't even slow down after dumping her there. He didn't know. Someone was watching. Beside Adugo's hospital bed that night was her older sister, Inkechi. She was there when Adugo whispered Chuka's name before her last breath. She was there when the smell of death clung to her clothes. And in that moment, something inside her broke, and Nkechi swore on her sister's body that Chuka would pay. But she was smart. She knew going to the police was useless. Men like Chuka always slipped through the cracks and got away with anything. She had to get close to him. But to do that, she had to become the type of woman he couldn't resist. Nkechi was not the type to cry for long. She buried Adugo quietly within a week, without much ceremony, because the shame and whispers were already spreading. Some people said Adugo had been promiscuous. Others claimed it was spiritual attack from jealous friends. Nkechi knew better. She didn't have proof the police would care about. All she had was a name, Chuka Okafor, and the fire in her chest. From that day, she had only one purpose: to destroy him. Nkechi was a seamstress by trade, working at a small shop in Surulere. She didn't move in Chuka's kind of circles, so first she had to learn everything about him. She spent weeks listening to gossip, reading blog posts, following social media pages that tracked Lagos nightlife. She learned that Chuka loved tall, curvy women with small waists, perfect nails, and skin like glass. He loved women who looked expensive, always in wigs that cost more than some people's rent, women who smelled like luxury perfume. He didn't chase women who threw themselves at him. He liked the thrill of pursuit. If a woman played hard to get, it made him curious. Nkechi also discovered his patterns. Fridays, Victoria Island clubs. Saturdays, yacht parties or private beach houses. Sundays, quiet dinners in hidden restaurants. She studied him like a hunter, learning the movements of his prey. Nkechi was naturally pretty, but she wasn't his type yet. She had a slender frame with narrow hips and she wore modest clothes. So, she decided she needed a complete transformation. She saved every naira she could and even borrowed from a trusted aunt. She booked a Brazilian butt lift at a discreet clinic in Lekki. It was painful, the recovery worse, but when she looked in the mirror 3 months later, and she knew it had been worth it. She bought three human hair wigs, long, sleek, expensive. She proceeded to upgrade her wardrobe, bodycon dresses, designer heels, silk tops. She even started using a soft, sweet perfume she knew lingered in the air. And most importantly, she changed her attitude. She practiced in front of the mirror, never smiling too much, never talking too fast, never looking desperate for attention. She had to radiate mystery. After which, Nkechi waited for an opportunity to strike, and it came. It happened at a friend's birthday party in Ikoyi. The place was filled with Lagos big boys and socialites. Nkechi walked in slowly, wearing a red dress that hugged her new curves. And of course, Chuka was there, holding court at the biggest VIP table. He saw her, and she caught his gaze for less than 2 seconds before looking away. That was all it took. For the rest of the night, she didn't approach him. She danced a little, laughed with friends, and ignored him completely. That was what intrigued him. Before the party ended, one of his men brought her a drink. She accepted it politely but didn't drink. She simply nodded in thanks and kept talking to her friend. Shuka was intrigued. A few weeks, they bumped into each other at more events. Nkechi made sure of that through careful planning, not luck. Each time, she gave him the same treatment: polite, a little distant, never impressed by his presence. Then he started sending gifts, expensive perfumes, a designer bag, even a car. She accepted them with a thank you, but never rushed to call him. It drove him crazy. By the third week, he invited her to dinner. She said she'd check her schedule. 2 days later, she agreed. The dinner was at one of those hidden restaurants in Ikoyi, where the cheapest plate was 100,000 naira. He talked, she listened, occasionally laughing at his stories. He tried to touch her hand across the table, but she moved it casually, like she hadn't noticed. He was used to women leaning in, showing eagerness, but Nkechi gave him none of that. When he finally asked her to come to his beach house the following weekend, she agreed without hesitation. This was the moment she had been preparing for. The beach house was as luxurious as she had imagined: floor to ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, polished marble floors, and a bar stocked with drinks worth more than her entire shop. They had dinner, then drinks. Chuka turned on soft music. The night unfolded exactly as it had for dozens of women before her. Only this time, things were different. Before coming, Nkechi had traveled to her village to see a different kind of spiritualist, an old woman her grandmother once trusted. The woman had given her a charm to wear on her waist, hidden under her clothes. This will protect your womb, the woman said. And if he tries to take from you, it will turn on him instead. That night, as Chuka touched her, the charm stayed pressed against her skin. He didn't notice anything was wrong until halfway through. At first, he felt a sharp, twisting pain in his stomach. He ignored it, thinking it was cramps or indigestion. But within minutes, the pain grew worse, burning, stabbing, and spreading downward. When he tried to stand, but his legs gave way. His breathing became ragged. Nkechi stood back, watching him fall to his knees. His face was pale, sweat pouring down. What? What's happening to me? He gasped. You took my sister, she said quietly. Now, you will feed your own master with yourself. Chuka collapsed, clutching his stomach. His screams were unlike anything she had ever heard. It was a mix of pain and terror. Then blood began to stain his clothes, and the stench that filled the room was foul, unnatural. By the time the first maggots appeared on the floor beneath him, he was already choking on his own breath. Nkechi didn't stay to watch the end. She walked out, got into her Uber, and left the beach house, the door wide open to the night wind. The next morning, the news spread like wildfire. Billionaire bachelor Chuka Okafor had been found dead in his home. The police refused to release details of the horrifying condition he was found in. So they said it was cardiac arrest. But the people knew better. They whispered about curses, karma, about the ghosts of the women he had destroyed. But nobody could prove anything. Nkechi disappeared quietly from Lagos high society, going back to her old life with a secret smile.